Hey guys, Ravenclaw here with another programming tutorial. Thank you for joining in. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for some more programming and other good stuff like that. So guys, last tutorial we spoke about the primitive variables and we ended off our variable discussion. And today we're going to talk about objects, as Java is an object-oriented language. It works its world around classes. And classes are just a way of encapsulating data and using it appropriately. So what we'll talk about is what is an object. And I think if you guys remember, we spoke about the string class. We're going to talk about the string class in this episode. Now, this string class, like I mentioned earlier, it is an array of characters. Now, if we declare the string class, so right here we're using this string class. Remember, it's not a data type as it has a capital letter, right? Now, we will get into what a class is in a second. So now we have to identify it. So we'll call it person, right? And the person is John. Okay, so that's as simple as that. But as it is a class, each class contains what is called a method or methods, multiple methods. Now, a good example of this is the string class has, so if we go person dot, now to use a method of any class, you must use the full stop or the period or whatever you like to call it. That will then say you're accessing the class, the dot, now you're accessing its methods. And one method we want to use in the string class is to uppercase. So this is one of its methods, right? So as you can see here, to uppercase, right? So what we can do here, we can just simply use it as is like this in a print statement, right? So we just go Control X, Control V, that's right. And this is to show you just what something of a class can do. If you notice here, it made everything capitalized. Okay, so everything's in uppercase. So that's a way of accessing a class's method. Now, let's have a quick talk about what a class is. Okay, so a class is, like I mentioned earlier, a way to encapsulate data. So let's just think of something that might be relative to a real life situation. Okay, so let's think of a class as an entity, as a thing. So, for example, a human being. So a person, we could make that a class. We could say in Minecraft, if you like to play Minecraft, we could say the ores, so you've got your iron ore, your cobblestone, you've got your other bits and pieces like that. They themselves are entities. So the reason why I'm saying this is because we can manipulate them in a way that we can say, all right, a person. So what does a person have? A person has a name. A person has hair color. A person has an age. Okay, so these are all sub-methods that we could use to access age, to set the age, and so on. So for example, let us make a class. Okay, now a class, when you're making a class, you generally make a new file. Okay, now we will get to what these accesses, so you got your public, you got, what's this package, what does static void mean? This will come in time. What we're doing now is we're just discussing what an object is based around this string class. Okay, so now if we go class person, we'll just leave it with person for now because everyone can relate to that. Right? Okay, what am I doing? Don't do that. Okay, so class person. So we're declaring the class and we've called it person. Now, every class must start with a capital P. Okay, so, all right, so we have our person class. Now, what's something that needs to be inside the class? Firstly, we need to talk about encapsulating data, right? So first thing we want to do is we want to go private. The access here, the private, means it can't be changed outside of that specific class. It's think of a room. This bit of data now is stuck inside that room with no windows, nothing. You cannot see it. It can't be accessed. By access, I mean you can't access directly, but you can access it through methods. So we'll get into that, like I said, we'll get into that more in depth as we go. So we've got this. Now we need to what they call, now what we're declaring here. Now we've talked about variables, okay, but what we're talking about here is instance variables. Instance variables are specific variables to that class, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to go private string name, okay? Now, you might be saying, all right, well, why haven't you initialized it? You've declared it, but why haven't you initialized it? That's okay. We'll get to that when we get to our methods. Now, second, we might go private. What should we do? We'll go age, I think. That'll be good. We'll keep it simple. We're not going to go too far into it. And the last one, let's go private, what should we call it? Height. And we'll call, whoops. We'll make it an integer and height. That's good enough. Now, once we've declared our class, okay, we've got our object working here nicely. We've got the instance variables. Now we need to find a way that we can, what is called construct the object, when we want to make something of this class at a later date. Okay, so what we need is something called a constructor. Okay, this constructor allows you to instantiate, or not so much instantiate, that allows you to create this object. Okay, a new instance of person later on. Okay, so we'll go here. Now what we want to do is we need to put in the constructor variables. All right, we don't actually need to do that. We can just go name, oops, age, and height. First, let's just get rid of that. Actually, yes, we do. We need to go string, int, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now what this does, this will allow us to use the person class and create a person as a, theoretically, we can create a person, okay? So, all right, so what do we need to do inside here? What we've got inside these parentheses, okay? These are a way of us accessing this person class and creating our own person by using this constructor, and we put our name here, we'll put our age here, and we'll put our height here, okay? But we need a way of first initializing these variables. So what we need to do is we need to go in here and we go the word this name. Now you only use this keyword, the keyword this, when your constructor variables match the instance variables, okay? You only need to use that. This way it knows this means the instance variable name is now known as the constructor variable name, okay? So it gets rid of any ambiguities that might arise later on, okay? But if for example, I didn't say this was age and I said it was number, you could just simply type age equals number, or is now known as, or so on and so forth. Okay, so if we just go age, right, age there, then we go this dot, height equals height. Okay, now we've set up our constructor, which is great. Okay, now we've got our instance variables, we've got a way to initialize our instance variables, and then what we need to do then is have a way to be able to change these instance variables later on if we need to. Okay, so what we can do is something like this. We can go public void, what should we call this one? We'll call this set name. Now I'll only do one because this can be obviously rinsed and repeat sort of thing, right? So we'll go string name, this will do. And like I mentioned earlier, you need to be descriptive when you're setting your different names and variables and things like that. That way you know what you're doing with, what you're working with later on. Okay. So what we're going to go here is we're going to go this dot name. So this instance variable name is now known as name. Okay. Reason why I'm keeping it all like this is because I want to talk about like the term encapsulation means it keeps things within that specific block of code. Now, this here, we're in between the curly braces, right? This name doesn't conflict with this simply because it's in a different block of code. It's inside this method, okay? So if it was outside this method and I put this here, we'd have some conflict. But because it's in here, inside this method, it's fine. We can do that. Now, what we're looking at here, right? We're looking at what is called a setter, right? We can set something. We can set the name to whatever we want. So I'll go ahead and I'll show you right now. For example, actually, we need to have what is known as a getter. There's other terms for it. Okay, so we go public string, because it needs to have a return. So when you say, for example, we're setting something, we don't need to know anything back. We don't need to get anything back from it. We're fine. But when we want to get something, we need a return statement. So hang in with me, right? So we've got here public string get name, right? We don't need to put anything inside there because it's just simply returning something for us. Then we go return, name. Okay. Now you notice I didn't put this. I don't need to because I'm not assigning anything to it. It's simply selecting this. Now, here's a quick, if you look quickly at the screen, you notice when, I'll get off it over here, I'll go here, right? If I click here, do you notice that it only highlights the ones that it relates to? See how this, and name, they all relate to this one instance variable, okay? So if I go here, you see how it's only referencing the variable inside the parentheses here. That's just something to remember. Okay, so what we've got now is we've got our class. So let's go in what is called instantiation. We need to have an instance of a person. Okay, so we go, like I said earlier, the string, right? String is a class. We also have the person class to work with now. Okay, so let's get the person class. We have to go person, as you would with your primitive variables. You would go int something, float something, and so on. This is what we're doing. We're going person, and we'll say adult, just for, readability. Now what we have to do is we have to instantiate the class. We have to make a new object. Okay, this is a new object. So we have to use the keyword new. Okay, new, and person. Now we have a constructor here. Okay, remember the constructor? So within the parentheses, down here, so we've got person, we've got the identifier. Now we're assigning this identifier here an object, okay, of the type person. So here we need to put in the initial name. Let's call this Raven. Okay, now we need to put in an age. Here we'll put in 22. Okay, now remember, because it's an integer, we can just put in the straight number. Now the height, we'll just say 6 foot. Okay. Oh, whoops. No, we don't want to do that. And remember, always end with a semicolon. Okay, so look what we've got here. That's excellent. We have our, I have our adult here. Okay, so now let's access, say, all right, you know what? I changed my name to Raven is great. Okay, so we'll go, all right, now we have to go to the adult identifier that we've created earlier, the dot, and now if you look down here in the, this is what Eclipse brings up to see if we've got anything that we've already made or, predetermined methods. So what we want to access is the set name method. Okay, so in here, let's go and set it to Raven is great. That's fine. Okay, so that's all well and good. So now it's changed, but I want to show you now the difference. Okay, so if I go, let's just output the console here, right? And we use the method adult.getName. Okay. If we print this right now, you can see that up here, it's set to Raven. Now what I want to do is I want to do 2, okay? I want to do 2 print lines just to show you what happens and how we can use these methods. Now you notice Raven, which is the first one that we created, and then if you look down underneath, it's the new one that we set, and that's how we can create objects in Java. So let's go back to Minecraft. I relate to Minecraft because it was created in Java. So if I say, all right, in Minecraft, they would have the class of, the class ore. So that's one class, and they can make many different types of ores. So that's what I was getting to right here. Okay, we're not actually creating, if we have a string, like if we create a string here, right, and we go, okay, string, hello, that's it. We can't then go down underneath it and change that variable around and all that stuff, because what we're actually doing is we're referencing the person class. Okay, creates a spot in memory for this particular adult. And then we can go then another person, and we make, a child, and then so on and so forth. We're making a reference to the person class. And it then, once we instantiate it, it creates a spot in memory for that person or that class. Okay, and that's how the string variable works. Not so much string variable, string class. It's used for the variables that you will use, for descriptive purposes, for whatever it may be. But this is just a basic idea of how classes work and how an object is created. Now, once again, back to Minecraft is, okay, so we've got your ore. So this is the ore class, okay? And you would have, a variable inside to say, get type. So the type might be gold, or it might be iron, or it might be whatever. But that's the idea behind the classes. And later on, once we start getting into the deeper parts of Java, like, we're using hash maps and things like that to store these classes, to be able to access multiple types of classes, to store different things, it'll all start to roll into place. But I wanted to touch on objects just briefly now, just to give you an idea of, why is it called an object-oriented language? And this is why, because it creates objects to make, quite robust programs. And it can be a bit daunting to begin with, but as we go through, this is one thing I want to make clear. I'm taking this slowly. I want to do things, bit by bit, and help you guys, especially the new guys that don't really understand what's going on. I want to go bit by bit so that helps you guys move along smoother. And any questions, comment section, guys. Comment section. I have this going all the time, and I'll be able to answer any questions you may have. Okay. So another thing we want to go to, if we go, let's just now clear this. You can always rewind the video and check it out later. Okay, now if we go string, name, all right? Call this name and we'll call it Raven. Okay, now if we go name dot, so you can see here it says to car array. Sorry guys, my recording cut out. Anyway, so just quickly, so we can see the name, the to car array method. So to show you that it's an array of characters, and an array is just a collection of data. So in this case, it's a collection of characters. So remember the car data type. Don't worry about this. We'll be going over conditional statements and arrays and whatnot in the next tutorial. But as you can see, this is how to declare an array, and we'll call this array equals. Let me just copy paste this. So now what we're doing is what we're saying is take this string that we've declared as Raven, take this string, grab its sub method, right? And the method we'll be using is to car array. So now we're converting this from a string to an array of characters. And now if we just print this out, if we say we wanted to, now Java is a zero-based language. And zero-based means we don't start from 1. we start from 0. So every array starts from the space 0. Okay, so if we say we wanted the V, we wouldn't go 1, 2, 3. We would go 0, 1, 2. So we want array 2. Okay, so now if we go ahead and print that, we should get the V. Okay, that was just a brief overview of strings and objects, and why do we use them, how they're used, and so on and so forth. Now, this is important to understand, but you don't need to worry if you haven't fully understood it, because like I said, once we get deeper into objects, I will be going over this again, so we can get to more of an understanding. But next lesson, we'll be going over conditional statements. So that's your ifs, your if statements, if else statements, your switches, your for loops, your while loops, conditionals, everything like that. So I should have said conditionals, loops, and we'll go over arrays. I like to do these things in a bit of a different fashion. So I will give you the basis of everything, but we will be going over them again to solidify the knowledge. And the best way to solidify your knowledge is to ask questions. And my motto is, guys, there's no stupid questions. Okay, the only stupid question that there is the one that's not asked, and that's how I feel. So any questions, smack them up down in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to help you. Now, one thing I will say before we say goodbye for today is, if you do enjoy my tutorials, hit that like button, guys. It just lets me know that you guys are enjoying it and getting a lot out of it. Comment it down the bottom there to just even to tell me that you like it. And guys, if you are new to my channel and you haven't yet subscribed, all we're missing into this channel is you. So hit that subscribe button to be notified of when the next tutorial will be live. And other than that, guys, I'm Ravenclaw. Thank you very much for watching.